RDR versus Robert Whittaker in the main event. RDR obviously double champ over in one championship. He comes over to the UFC and has been on a run going into this fight. 3-0, all finishes. He subbed Gerald Meerschaert in his debut. He subbed Kevin Holland in the first round, and then he TKO'd Bo Nickel. So this is his fourth fight in the UFC. They put him in the main event. I kind of like that they didn't just throw him to the wolves immediately in the UFC. They could have been like, "Hey, this is double champ in one. Better prove yourself over here and give him, some killer in the top five right away." And maybe he could have handled that, but I feel like this was the smarter play because now people have kind of got to see him grow in the UFC to a certain extent. And um, I don't know that Meerschaert UFC debuts are really tough, and we'll talk about that later on in the last fight we cover on this card. But look at Pitbull, look at some of these guys who've come over from other organizations who were very good. They come to the UFC and they kind of falter a little bit in their debuts. And he got the win over Meerschaert, but a lot of people were like, "What? This guy was a double champ? Oh, one MMA in shambles. This guy's not good. This guy sucks." And then so far now, now look at him, right? So I think the RDR that showed up for Meerschaert, if they threw him to Robert Whittaker in a main event right away, I don't know if he gets it done. Um, but they have now, three finishes, and then Robert Whittaker. He's coming into this talking about one last push for the title. His last fight was that Hamzat fight where he broke all his teeth with that neck crank or face crank. But he beat Paulo Costa, then he beat Alaskarov, knocked him out. And you're like, okay, it's not too bad, right? His last loss before that was the Duplessis fight. Duplessis is clearly very good, so there's no shame in losing that fight. But that's kind of where he's at. He's like, one last push, maybe. Let's see what we could do. Give him a main event spot against RDR. Let's see what happens. Right off the bat, RDR is huge. Guys, if he put on a little bit of weight, he'd definitely be a light heavyweight, and I think he'd have a lot of success at light heavyweight too. But he's a double champ for a reason, right? And one, but he's fucking massive compared to Rob. That being said, Rob starts the fight off with the jab. He's so good at darting in and then exiting. That jab is like a magnet. Despite the height and reach disadvantage, he's just cracking. He's tuning up RDR pretty much early in this fight. But one of the things, and RDR still just, it doesn't look like he's comfortable getting hit. He kind of like turns away. He doesn't like block or slip or anything like that. Shout out Jake says he would not have success at light heavyweight. I don't know, man. Light heavyweight is garbage. If you look at the rankings in light heavyweight, there's definitely some guys he could beat there. But he's still, I mean, we've seen him take a beating from Anatoly Malakin multiple times. So he definitely, Jake says, dude would get his head knocked off immediately. I mean, Malakin could barely put him out. It took a long time for Malakin to put him out. And we'll talk about his durability in this. I mean, if he's taking those shots from Malakin, he can definitely take shots from some of these guys in the UFC at light heavyweight. Because let's look at the rankings really quick at light heavyweight. Not to get too sidetracked, but let's see, light heavyweight. Alonzo Menafield, Johnny Walker is a fight he could win. Azamat Mirzakhanov, Krylov, I think he probably beats. Ozdemir at this point maybe tunes him up, but who knows because Ozdemir gasses all the time. And that's what we'll talk about, especially. RDR has some faults in his mechanics, specifically his defense, I would say, but even his offensive striking is very labored, or I don't want to say sloppy, but it's damn near sloppy. He just doesn't look very comfortable on the feet. That being said, his durability allows him to stay in these fights despite getting pieced up a little bit. And, early on in the fight, I think in the first round, he stuffed 3 takedowns from RDR. And we've seen that before with jiu-jitsu guys. They just don't have the best takedowns necessarily in MMA. But they eventually will find a way to make it work. The elite guys will. And man, RDR, he gets his 3 takedowns stuffed in the first round, but then he gets this takedown in the second round. And part of that is because, I mean, I think the big story of this fight is the knees to the body. Robert Whittaker is jumping in with these jabs and then darting out. And eventually, instead of turning away and getting just kind of pieced up by them, RDR starts crashing into those crashes, creating a car crash situation. And he kind of he doesn't, I don't want to say he's slipping the jab, but he's stepping through and landing these knees to the body. And we've seen him, he destroyed Bo Nickel with body work. Um, and he has developed a game, you know, I would say Robert Whittaker has prettier technique mechanically. He's more sound, especially with the striking, right? Um, and RDR's best tool set is his grappling, right? His jiu-jitsu is world class. Look at some of the inverted triangles, some of the shit he's done in the past is incredible, but um, you have to get them there. And he's developed a game around that, I think, that is what makes him elite. And you might look at him and say, well, he's sloppy, he's kind of a meme fighter or whatever, right? Doesn't really matter if the results are there. And some of the things that he's developed, where like the crashing with the knees to the body, he basically will sap your gas tank. It'll take a while, right? Body work isn't immediate, but if he keeps digging to the body with these knees, he'll get the overhook in the clinch and start driving uppercuts to the body. Uh, hold on, Rich. Let's go back one picture. But basically, what he's doing is he's surviving off his durability because he could take a fucking shot. We saw it in this fight. We've seen it in the past. The Malakin fights were brutal. He ate so many big shots in those fights and didn't go out, and which is why I think it might work in light heavyweight, but to a certain point, eventually that'll catch up to you. But for now, he's willing, or maybe not willing, but able to eat these shots and all the while dig to your body to tire you out to the point where you're not as fresh and you've been teeing off on this guy. I don't want to call it the Homer Simpson's defense because it's not, because Homer wasn't knocking people to the body with nasty knees, but he gets you tired to the point where now you're fighting labored, and it almost evens the playing field where you're not as sharp on the feet. That sharpness isn't a big gap between his striking and your striking. You're now tired, you're more labored, you're throwing things more looping, and now it's like a little bit more of an even playing field on the feet. And then you see the takedowns start working because you're tired. In the second round, he took Robert down. He had like two and a half the round was spent on the ground, I think. 2 minutes on the ground. Uh, Third round, he tags Rob, and when you're tired, you also can't take a shot, right? So he tags Rob. Rob's on the back foot. He's kind of charging in on him. Again, he enters with that knee, and now we can go to the next picture, Rich. And Rob times it with a massive overhand, which you're open for when you're stepping in with knees like that. But I think it's just, you know, it's a great game from RDR, and Rob cracks him. He drops him. I thought it was over at that point because he goes down hard. Rob's on top of him, tries to finish it, doesn't finish it, and he's like, all right, let me get the fuck out of here. I'm not staying on the ground with this guy. But again, that durability from RDR, dude, he can fucking take a shot, man. I mean, most people are done after this punch. Um, and yeah, Blunderup says the clinch seems to be where he has the most options / success, trips, throws instead of shooting. Yes, but to that point, the takedown that he did land in the second was a straight shot, I believe. And it's just, he's Rob's a little bit more tired now, and he doesn't have that first layer of defense anymore. Reaction times, right? Hey, shout out Arloisking. Thanks for joining. So close to getting the finish. I know. This is a back-to-back UFC events where we just had Dustin versus Max. I love both those guys. I don't really want to see either of them lose. And this is kind of one of those same fights. I love both these guys so much. And moving forward, it's maybe better for the division that it's Arlois King. Thanks, Rich. But it's probably better for the division that RDR wins this fight just because Rob has had his time at the top, which kind of sucks to say, but it still sucks to see a boy lose, right? And he did almost have him here, but RDR gritched through it, and you could see after he survived this, Rob was a different fighter. There's Rob before this knockdown and Rob after this knockdown, and people are saying that he's washed and saying like, oh yeah, he's over the hill. It's not that, dude. He fucking hit a ton of these knees to the body, and then even after he was already tired from all these knees to the body, he expends all this energy dropping a guy. That adrenaline skyrockets. He tries to finish him on the ground. He doesn't get it. And now you're like, fuck, man. And then RDR's back in his face throwing knees to his body. I mean, it's brutal. I think, what was it? They only give percentages, but 38% of the strikes that RDR landed were to the body. I mean, that's brutal. That's fucking brutal. And oh, here we go. There's the numbers. 26 shots to the body from RDR, 41 to the head. So he's investing in that. And like I said, at the start of the fight when both guys are fresh, I think most guys at the top are going to tune up RDR with the hands. But if he can just survive that because he's so goddamn durable and weaponize these knees and this range that he has up close to bring these knees in, and some guys don't knee to the body well. RDR knees to the body well. You see some guys, Charles Oliveira is a good one. Some guys really dig the point of the knee in, and then some guys just kind of bring the knee up to you. RDR is fucking stabbing you with these knees, and it closes the gap. By the time you're unless you put them out or you have an answer for these knees and you're not eating them, eventually you will get sapped and you will be labored. Your strikes are going to have more fat on them, and it really does even it for you because towards the end of this fight they were kind of tagging each other. Fourth and fifth rounds, both of them were completely gassed. Uh, fucking completely gassed. Uh, Jake says, I was confused as to why he wasn't going for more trips. Did you see uh, what was keeping him from doing so? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, Rob's good. Rob has very good takedown defense also, and we have seen RDR struggle with some of these with trips, or just jiu-jitsu guys in general struggle with trips uh, in the clinch. But I think part of it also has to do with the fact that he was also exhausted. Both these guys by the end of the fight were huffing and puffing. And Rob's corner, in between each round, Rob's corner is like he's fucked. He's fucking gassed. He's fucked. Meanwhile, Rob's like almost hyperventilating in between rounds. Like, I don't know, man. I think both of you guys are in rough states. Um, but I mean, yeah, it when you're tired, your techniques are going to be more labored. They're not going to be as effective. And to Blunderbub's point, Rob's boxing is very good. But RDR did have for the remainder of this fight, I want to say, rounds 4 and 5, he had 2 minutes of control, and a lot of that was up against the fence. And he really didn't attempt that many trips. But part of it might be something that he's maybe learned because while he is active with trips, if you watch a lot of his fights, he kind of ends up on his back a lot of the times when he goes for the trips. Um, and maybe he's like, this is such a close fight, and I'm exhausted. If this trip goes poorly and I end up on my back, I don't know if I'm sweeping. I don't know if I'm getting up on top. And maybe that's part of it because he really didn't attempt too much in that control time. I mean, the fifth round was largely control against the fence and not much else. Even when they were at distance, both guys weren't throwing a ton. Um, but it got the job done. I had it 2-2 going into the fifth. A lot of people were saying this is a robbery. One judge did give it to Rob, giving him rounds four. Um, yeah, round four. Round three was actually a crazy one, the one where Rob dropped him because he cracks him with that overhand, almost puts him out, but then pretty much the rest of the round was RDR's round, and but damage obviously scores. You got to give that round to Rob. Um, but yeah, interesting fight. I actually really like this fight. I like fights that aren't just like super straightforward. There's like some caveats to it and nuances to it, and I think RDR, despite his flaws, has really, really, really developed an elite game. I mean, it shows. He's 20 something and 21-2 now. He was 20-2 going into this. His only two losses are to fucking Malakin, who's they fought at the same weight class, but let's be honest, Malakin's fucking a heavyweight, and they made it work. Is all I'll say. And man, did he so durable in those fights, and actually had some success in the second one, surprisingly, but it's just too much. Uh, Definitely too much. Blunderbubb says that you could tell he wasn't too happy with the win this time. Yeah, as soon as they announced it, he almost like looked at Rob like, I don't know about that, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe it was more just like I'm fucking exhausted right now, and I did not enjoy that. And he even said, he's like, I fucking hated that fight. I've seen a couple interviews now where he's like, I really did not like that fight. Thought I won it, but and they're like, well, what would you do differently? He's like, I choke him out in the first round. That'd be much better. You're like, yeah, dude. But this is interesting now because I don't know what you guys think, but um, going into this fight, let's see, what do we have? Robert Whittaker was number 5. RDR was number 13. We have Duplessis versus Hamzat. The only people above Rob are Izzy, which I don't know what they're doing with him. They're talking about. I know the rumors are that they're just gonna have him fight Sean again. But Sean just now got suspended because he charged the cage for that fucking local fight and tried to fight one of the fighters, threw a punch at him, walked at him like an angry mom. So he's suspended indefinitely from Nevada, which other commissions will observe. So I don't know, but honestly, they did it indefinitely. It's probably just like, hey, UFC, let us know when you want him to fight, and we'll clear him. But yeah, Hamzat has Duplessis. Imavov is number one. Imavov has a fight booked, I thought, right? Does he have a fight booked? Let me see. Bear with me here, fellas. Nasruddin Imavov. Yes, he has Bahalio coming up in September. And honestly, you could argue, I actually think they kind of fucked up by making the rematch with Dricus and Sean because I thought you should have already done the Hamzat fight, and then that fight would have been done with. And now Imavov, after knocking out Izzy, could have got a title shot, which he probably deserves. Now he has to fight Bahalio. But now RDR is like right in the mix there. I don't know if he goes straight to a title shot now. Maybe he fights. The winner of Bahalio versus Imavov will probably get a title shot, just based off timing and where they're at in the rankings. But maybe he fights the loser of that. I think that's a fun fight. Or maybe he fights the loser of Dricus versus Hamzat. I think the Dricus fight would be fucking hilarious. Just both these guys have found a way to be elite fighters despite some very unorthodox techniques. Uh, but yeah, that was that kind of this fight in a nutshell. Fun fight though. It kind of sucks that it teetered off a little bit at the end. They're both just so exhausted. Um, but I mean, back and forth, fun fight. Good, fun fight stylistically too. And then we actually got to see some cool improvements from Whittaker on the ground, especially in the same position that Dricus bullied him in. RDR wasn't really able to do much with it, and I would say RDR is a much better grappler than Dricus. So improvements from Rob even at this point in his game.
Hey everybody, Ramiro and Will here. Thank you for watching that short clip. Just so you know, that was a small excerpt from what we covered this last Sunday, right, Will?
Yeah, we cover the entire event every weekend. So this was just a cutout from the live stream that we did. The link to that live stream is in the description. So if you want to hear about the other fights that night, it's down below in the description. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell because we go live every Sunday to cover events. And if you do that, you'll know for next week and you can tune in and be in the chat and get featured on the show just like everybody else was on this clip.
We hope to chat with you live.